Hello, this is Ari Panagoulias, Director of Condition Monitoring for Hydro Centaur. In this video, we're going to talk about the Diagnostic Analysis section of Hydro's EPM software platform. In today's demonstration, we're going to go through how to access the different diagnostic tools, which tools are available, and how we might use those to diagnose the condition of a machine in the field. In the tree structure on the left side, you'll see a number of different plants, locations, or assets for each deployment of the Centaur system. We'll click on the bottom one for purposes of the demonstration. Once we're in, we can click on the asset to pull up an overview or digital twin image of the machine. The digital twin image gives us an overview of the asset and shows us the most recent sample of data at each location. You might also be able to see if there is an alarm condition present that the color has changed on the channel that is in the alarm state. In this case, the motor drive end vertical is above the warning alarm threshold. We can click on that to pull up an immediate trend chart that shows us the last week or 2 weeks of data. Clearly, we can see in this example that the vibration value has increased from 0.11 inches per second RMS up to 0.16 inches per second RMS. This might trigger an analyst or end user to do a further assessment of what might be going on at this specific location. Navigating in the tree structure, we can click on additional channels to dive into specifics at each location. We might be able to click on this motor drive end vertical to further access tools in the ribbon at the top. We could click on this 8K velocity waveform, and in the bottom left, you will start to see data populated from each sample. Now in this table, you will see the sample time, the sample value, and if you scroll over, any additional remarks and the instrument serial number. You'll also see the alarm status indicated by this color here. There's also a checkbox that we'll talk about a little bit later as we talk about some of the different tools that can be used to analyze this machine. In this table, we can right-click to export this as a CSV file. In addition, we can right-click and click Data Range to change our assessment time period. There are a number of different options in terms of data display. The first one is we can look at since baseline data collection and the last X number of samples. This can be determined by the user. So if we wanted to look at the last 2,000 samples, we would simply enter 2,000 and click OK. If we wanted to look at the vibration values from a particular date, we could select Since and then select our date by toggling within the calendar. If we wanted to select from a date to a specific date, we could select this option. If we wanted to select the last X number of days, or months or years, we could do that by selecting this option. We can also toggle off displaying error data that's been flagged by the system as being erroneous. We can also right-click in this table and check other settings. This would allow us to change the theme setting from light to dark. It would also allow us to change the spectral units from CPM to Hertz. We can change the waveform units from milliseconds to seconds, and if we had a tachometer connected, we could display the rotating frequency. Once we've selected a specific waveform from the measurement tree, we can then access the different tools available. The most basic tool is Trend. This is the first tool listed in the ribbon. Clicking Trend, we pull up the trend chart from the last selected data sample list. In this case, we're looking at the last 3,000 samples of data. We can right-click in the chart to close our dynamic cursor or open our dynamic cursor and move around the screen. We can add a label if we wanted to flag this particular point of operation. We can batch add labels or remove all labels as well. We can lock the graphic or export this as an image. We can hide the toolbar, we can hide the auxiliary information, and of course we can redisplay both. Most importantly, we can add alarm lines. If alarm values have been programmed for this particular channel, adding alarm lines will help us view the trend in relation to those alarm values. Those alarm values can be manually entered, static values from industry standards or other reference databases. They can also be determined statistically from baseline data. Looking at overall data is the most common way to do this. However, we can also look at different time domain data such as peak, kurtosis, pulse, waveform, margin, and all these different values displayed here. We could add a condition filter if we wanted to do so, using that tool there. Moving along, if we wanted to see specifics about this particular data point, we could open up another tool, which would be waveform. This would allow us to view the waveform and further assess the data. We can move our cursor from the peak and add a double cursor to measure the distance from peak to peak. We can also add filters such as band pass, band stop, high pass, and low pass filter using this tool in the upper right. If we have known frequencies programmed within this machine, we can also add any known characteristic frequencies by selecting the rotating speed and adding those values here. The third tool in the ribbon is the frequency spectrum. This would allow us to view the dominant frequencies in the spectrum. In this case, we can see that the dominant frequency of excitation is the 1x operating speed at approximately 28.438 Hz. We could use the tool, the multi-frequency cursor, to plot the multiple speeds and see harmonic excitation at different multiples of run speed. We can also use another tool to plot the sidebands. So if we wanted to see if there was any sidebands that might be excited, we could use that tool and measure out to any number of sideband frequencies that we were interested in. We can add tags as needed, and again, if we've got a known running frequency, we can program in the bearing fault frequencies of this machine. We can right-click in this chart and add labels, we can lock the graphic, we can export the image, we can hide the different toolbars and auxiliary information, and we can change our spectrum type from peak to peak to RMS as needed. We can also change the number of multiple cursors and also the number of sideband cursors that are used. Those are the three most common tools that are used within the software platform. We'll continue on with more tools in the next video.